I Saw the TV Glow is from Jane Schoenbrunn, director of We're All Going to the World's Fair. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've had some people tell me that they weren't that impressed. Although I like this one, so now I don't know what my opinion on that will be. Anyway, this is a coming-of-age story, but with heavy elements of horror and fantasy. It starts in the 90s with a teen who's played by rising star Justice Smith for most of the movie. Okay, since we're starting at the beginning, I should probably mention that he's played by a younger actor for the first 15 minutes or so named Ian Foreman. But anyway, the story. He meets a girl who gets him into a creepy kids show called The Pink Opaque. And for a while, it's about their friendship. And yes, friendship, not romance, because she likes girls and...
I think that I like TV shows.
But then things get weird as it follows him through stages of his young adulthood and even a little into middle age. Their connection to the show gets deeper and possibly more supernatural. This movie is very nice to look at with an aesthetic that goes beyond 90s style and just becomes an almost dreamlike vibe with its colorful lights, almost trippy cinematography, and its soundtrack of indie artists that complement the images perfectly. The sequences that are in the show are surprisingly creepy. It's a disturbing surrealist fantasy through the lens of 90s TV, the kind of thing that seems too scary to be on kids' TV, which really only makes sense with things that are revealed near the end of the movie. And Justice Smith gives a great performance. He perfectly handles the meekness of this character with how soft-spoken he is throughout. He feels like an awkward teen and not just the Hollywood version of what an awkward teen main character is. And the allegories at the center of it are also great. At first it seems like the show is just a metaphor for his friendship with the girl until it morphs into something more personal. It turns out to be more about Schoenbrunn's experience as a non-binary person. Near the end, it's really just about the experience of living as something you're not. But things come to a screeching halt near the end, which is why when I filmed my YouTube short, I was unsure of how I felt about it. For those of you who saw that, it's time to get into it. Yeah, I said the ending was weird and confusing. Really, the problem is just that it wasn't satisfying. At all. The movie just kinda ends. I guess I understood what they were going for, but it just needed some kind of finality to it. I'm not asking for a happy ending. I'm not asking for something where everything is explained. In fact, I was kind of expecting some ambiguity in the end. But I just needed something that felt like this is the end of the story. Or at least something that left it open in a more interesting way than that. If it didn't fumble the ending, this could have been my new favorite movie of the year so far. I'm not saying nothing would have beaten it later, but still. Now with the ending it has, I'm still ready to say it's pretty good for the vast majority of it. A creepy, haunting story of coming of age in a world that might not even be real.
Are you afraid of the dark? We'll return in a moment.
Two little gnomes sitting by a tree. When the lights go out, they scare me.
What do they want?
Two little gnomes having creepy fun when it gets dark.
Ah!
Better run.
You'll never make it.
Watch it all new Goosebumps next Saturday at 9 a.m. on Fox Kids.
His only weapon, 600 horses of fuel-injected vengeance. Mad Max, the maximum force of the future.
Watch out, it's coming back.
We now return to Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Now for the big one in this video. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is once again from director George Miller himself, who also wrote it along with Nick Lathoris, another writer for Fury Road. This time we move away from Max to focus on the real star of that movie, Furiosa, a younger version of her played by Anya Taylor-Joy as we follow her life up to how she became what she was at the beginning of Fury Road, from innocent child to fierce warrior. It starts with her being kidnapped by an evil tribe led by Chris Hemsworth, who later adopts her as a daughter. And soon he's about to go to war with Morton Joe, who somehow manages to be the lesser of two evils in this situation. And Furiosa, she gets caught up in the negotiations, and her role in this is complicated and difficult to describe without spoiling anything. And yes, this one does have an actual story this time. In fact, this might be the most ambitious story the franchise has ever done. A surprisingly complex plot that spans many years, from her childhood to right before Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't even appear for a surprisingly long time. Since it's the full story of her life, you gotta spend a lot of time with her as a kid. And so it does all this with the plot and character-based storytelling of the original trilogy rather than the 2-hour car chase that was Fury Road. It balances the action with a lot of quieter moments that tell the story and build the characters, also giving the audience time to breathe before the next action scene. It's like an 80s Mad Max movie with all the glossiness of Fury Road. But at the same time, this also means that it doesn't have that insane level of energy that made Fury Road great. In my Letterboxd review, I kind of implied that Fury Road wasn't as good as The Road Warrior. Well, forget that. Fury Road is the best of the 5 movies despite not having much plot because of the ridiculous amount of non-stop action. Furiosa is still definitely great without it. In fact, if we're talking only in terms of fleshing out the world and characters, this could be the superior movie. But in a franchise built on action, this doesn't quite reach that level. But make no mistake, the action is still definitely there. There is some more CGI in these scenes and it is noticeable at times, but for the most part it is the same action that made Fury Road so beloved. And Anya Taylor-Joy is a convincing Furiosa. Looking at her, you wouldn't expect her to be a great action star, but she excels here. And weirdly, the child actor Alila Brown does an equally good job of portraying her. And Chris Hemsworth also steals the show as the villain. He brings a lot of energy and charisma that make him one of the more memorable villains in the franchise. Interesting how the most memorable villains came like 30 years after the trilogy. Even back then, they had to get to Tina Turner and Beyond Thunderdome to get to the really good villains. Where it kind of falters a little is in its runtime. It's over 2.5 hours long and I figure some of that could have been cut without doing much damage. It does unfortunately drag a little even for a story that vast. Ironic complaint to have for the follow-up to Fury Road. With a little less filler, this one could have also been my new favorite movie of the year so far. So, which one's better, the version of I Saw the TV Glow with an actual ending, or the shorter version of Furiosa? Yeah, I guess it would be I Saw the TV Glow. That would have been my real new favorite movie of the year so far. But the way that both of them are now, Furiosa is the better one. But I really like both of them. Furiosa isn't as good as Fury Road or The Road Warrior, but I'd still rank it above the original and Beyond Thunderdome. It's the rare Mad Max movie where the plot shines more than the action. Thank goodness it didn't just try to copy what made its predecessor work. It's Fury Road for people who care about insignificant stuff like story and characters. Wait, this is the third video in a row where I gave both movies 4 stars. Here's my diary to prove I use other ratings too.